Hello, good morning, and welcome. This is Sunrise. I'm Ayo Makinde. Hope you've had a good week. Now, speaking with one of my colleagues, Kayla, in the course of the week, one thing that she told me is that she now saves on electricity simply because it's cold all over the place. So has that been your own experience as well? Feel free to share with us, you know, our handle at Sunrise CTV. So that said, and by the way, I don't know how you are experiencing the proposed phased power outage that the electricity distribution companies hinted at, that they will be unleashing, so to speak, on some parts of Lagos. So just have that in mind. Also share that with us, okay? It'll be wonderful to know how you feel. Now, there's this thing that we are all we're not unaware of, and that's the fact that the tinted glass permit is now required. What that means is that you have to show proof that you have permission to use a tinted glass vehicle, a vehicle with a tinted glass in the country, all over the nation. This is from the IGP, not from some state. This is from the federal government. The question is, are you aware of it? Now, what might be cheering, today is what, 9. What might be cheering for you is that the Inspector General has approved an extension of the grace period for the enforcement of the tinted glass permits to August 12. Tomorrow is 10, right? Day after 11. So from Tuesday, you must show proof that you have tinted glass permit anywhere in the country. So the question that I want to ask is, are you aware? So if they come at you now and say, hey, you need to show proof, you need to do this, you need to do that. I don't know how many of us saw that video of a young person who was driving, and along the line he was stopped, and he was told, the police, you know, stopped him and asked him to do a thing or two, and he said, well, if you don't have glass permit, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. Next thing, they were peeling off the tint on the vehicle, and of course the fellow was recording. Were the police within their rights to do so? Well, the jury is out there. We may want to test the law on that. But what is clear is that the police has extended the grace period until Tuesday this week. Okay, no, the week ahead. Tuesday, a few days down the line. So you need to be aware of that. And there are processes to getting, excuse me, the permit. There are processes that has also been put out. You may want to check. But one thing is, if you go to the Police Specialized Services Automation Portal at possap.gov.ng, possap.gov.ng, you can sign in using your national identity number or the bank verification number or tax identification number. All the details are online there for you to use. And still talking about the police, you must be aware of this whole story about a presidential candidate of the AAC, a former presidential candidate, Omoyele Sowore, who, according to the NLC, you know, his continuous arrest is becoming increasingly embarrassing. And naturally, the police has come out to speak to the issue in a statement, the press release, that they said the Sowore arrested over criminal offenses, no torture in police custody. So they're saying that contrary to the falsehood being circulated, Mr. Sowore was arrested based on credible, corroborated allegations involving criminal offenses such as forgery, cyberstalking, and other infractions currently under active investigation. This is what the police has said. Whether or not the police trusts, the people trust the police, that's another matter altogether. So how do we deal with this? One of the things that we understand is, and also according to the police, Mr. Sowore was released on bail well within the 48-hour constitutional window in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, Section 35, Sub 4 of the 1999 Constitution. Those are the things that have been said. So now you know. And I don't want to delve on all of those stuff that happened at the airport involving a famous and ambassadorial musician and a reputable pilot of a private airline. But I saw a post that spoke to a fantastic balance. What was lost at that time? And it is something that can happen to anyone. You just, for a brief second, you just kind of lose discretion. When I was in secondary school, we had this deacon who was like one of the top people in the school. His name was Deacon Oguntono. He was Olivet Baptist High School, by the way. Thank you very much. Yes. And Deacon Oguntono said something at one of our, morning assemblies at the chapel. He said, every one of us in this world is entitled to 5 minutes, daily dose of 5-minute madness. I've never forgotten it. So just imagine, God forbid, that your 5 minutes madness meets mine. And as they will say on the street, now we increase pass, I ain't gonna win. And God forbid that ever happens to one of us. So there are those who have spoken to the fact that, and that's the only balanced report that I have read about it. We just missed something at that time, each one of us, and that is emotional intelligence. We should never lose it. Now, WAEC. Can the children now cheer? We understand that there was a time that the portal was down. Now we understand that the portal is back. Can the children now cheer? I was trying to help my child, check hers yesterday. I understand that the portal was so busy and all. That's not the time for the portal to be busy. I bet, can you increase the bandwidth so that all of us who want to check, at least just for that period, right, can just check? But the concern for me is that they had to reappraise the results. It happened with WAEC. Now it's happening, it happened with JAMB. Now it's happening with WAEC. In fact, when WAEC reviewed the marks, there was a jump of more than 20% in how the students performed, from less than 40% to more than 60%, about 62 point something percent, is how well the children fared. Those who scored more than 5 credits, above 5 credits, including maths and English. More than 62% of our students did that. This is not about the curriculum. And this is perhaps not even as much about the performance of the school, but about the examining process, the results and all those things. So we are transiting from the manual handwriting and all to CBT. There's also concerns that have been raised by a good number of institutions in the education system, particularly Parent Teachers Association and all of them, including students, saying, are we ready for computer-based testing for WAEC? JAMB, we know, is OBJ, for those of you who know it. It's objective. But JAMB, are we ready for it? So if all of WAEC is also going to be there, one argument that was brought forward by, I think, Mr. Ogunbajo was, JAMB is just one day. WAEC is several days. And you can have a paper today and tomorrow and not have another for another 5 days before you now come back for another one. So are we ready for that? If we're ready, that's the way the world is going. So why don't we also go that way? So just caution, caution, caution. Now, what do we have lined up for you this morning on Sunrise? The first issue is one of concern. Flooding. We'll be talking about the deadly floods. We've discussed it in the course of time in this week, and hey, we're doing that again. And then there have also been concerns raised about hunger in the country. We'll have perspectives on that, particularly from those who are doing something about it. We'll be looking at Tikera Africa launch, and we want to find out what all of that is about. Hopefully we'll have lifestyle as well. We'll talk about food, health, and your blood this morning. And the artist of the week is one of those people who straddle two sectors of the entertainment industry. We'll find out more about that in the course of time. In the meantime, do me the normal favor. Grab your cup. Well, first, this cup is from the 50th birthday of Joke Rogers, one of my colleagues. So you don't have one, sorry, but consider this yours. So grab your cup, a cocoa. If it's cocoa, we'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Across Nigeria, the rains are here. And for many communities, they have brought devastation. In Mokwa, Niger State, what began as an overnight downpour became one of the deadliest floods in decades. 150 lives lost, dozens still missing, thousands displaced. In Kwara State, swollen rivers have forced families from their homes. In River State, streets have turned into waterways, crippling daily life and trade. In Lagos, the roads have become seaways. These are not isolated events. They are a stark reminder of the growing threat of extreme weather and the urgent need for preparedness. This morning on Sunrise, we bring you the perspectives that need to be addressed, and how do we turn this tragedy into lasting change? Let's begin with two gentlemen with us this morning. Mr. Suleiman Arigbabu is here with me in the studio. He is Executive Secretary, Header Resource Center. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, James.
We also have Stephen Jabo, who is Head of the Department of Hydrogeophysics and Technical Advisor to the DG of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA. He joins us from Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us, sir. And
yeah, good morning, sir. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
And we have Mr. Nemo Bassi, who is an environmental activist. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Let me begin with you, Mr. Bassi. This is not something that is new. We've been talking about this since forever, and it's not like we didn't know that these things are going to happen. And what I have to be honest with you, Mr. Bassi, every year, as frequently as we have to talk about this, I have to be honest with you, it's depressing and disappointing. I don't know what you can, what you think we are missing, if we are missing anything, or we're just daring the odds.
Well, I think one thing we're doing that we could say we're doing right is the fact that at least we're able to announce that the floods are coming, and even to pinpoint the areas that will be most affected. But in terms of preparation to respond, or to, we are not there yet. But in terms of preparation to respond, grounds, or to, we are not there yet, because you tell people to move to higher grounds, and in places like the coastal line of Nigeria, there's virtually no higher ground. So where do you tell people to move to? This is the crisis we're having. And so generally, we don't really appear to understand the severity of the crisis. And the crisis is going to get deeper. This is the challenge. We're going to have more due to global warming or climate change. And so if the floods are going to be heavier, rains are going to be more intense, the fact that we can't handle what we are confronting with now is a serious issue that should concern us.
We get reports from time to time, Mr. Jabo, from the agencies like the Hydrological Services Agency, like NIMET, and the reports usually go as late as, say, November in any year, November, December in any year. And from time to time, we get updates. Guys, in 2 days, this is going to happen. In 3 days, that's going to happen. Help us understand what's the level of response or reaction to the notices that agencies like yours put out from time to time, particularly at the states level.
Much. The notification for flood occurrences in Nigeria is not given in November, but is given in April, before the onset of the rainy season. Now, the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency issues flood forecast as well as early warning for flooding. The agency has been doing that since the year 2013, after the devastating flood of 2012. Every year, we come out with this annual flood outlook, usually before the onset of the rainy season in the country, which is in April. Rainy season starts in April and ends in November, mostly in Nigeria. So we come out with this annual flood outlook, which gives the detailed flooding scenario that is expected to happen in Nigeria every year from the month of April to November, giving details of the magnitude of the flooding that are expected to happen in Nigeria, the time it is expected to happen, and the various locations in terms of the communities that the flooding are expected to happen. Now, this year, we came out with the annual flood outlook, which was unveiled by the Honorable Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsev Talumun, on 10th of April, 2025. And the highlights of that annual flood outlook were that about 1,249 communities in 176 local government areas in 30 states plus FCT are going to experience high flood risk this year, beginning from April to November. Likewise, more communities in more local government areas and in 36 state plus FCT were expected to fall within the moderate flood risk areas. Now, apart from this annual flood outlook, this is the period of heavy rainfall in Nigeria. The month of July, August, and September are the period of high rainfall in Nigeria. And therefore, we expect to see flooding in most part of the country. Now, the floodings that are witnessing in Nigeria now are mostly from riverine flooding, flash flooding, and urban flooding. Now, the agency also, on a weekly basis, comes out with what we also call weekly flood notification.
Well, Mr. Jabo, if you can hear me, we'll come back to those issues. Just 1 second. We'll come back to those details. My question was about the response from the states, the state governments in particular. Do you think there is a show of proactiveness? And you are correct. We get the update sometimes from around April at the offset of the rains, but I remember getting notices about the rain for next year and the previous year. The idea, I thought at the time, was for the state governments in particular to prepare. These things happen every year. It's going to happen again. What are we doing about it? I'm just asking whether or not you think, whether it comes in April or it comes before the new year, whether you think the states are proactive enough to act on those things, the information you give out to them before calamity befalls?
Yes and no. Yes, because only few states take proactive measures in their state to mitigate the negative impact of flooding expected in their communities. For instance, the state like Bayelsa, Lagos, Jigawa, they have been doing a lot by constructing more drainage systems within their state, dredging or desilting of rivers and dams within their state, relocating vulnerable communities that are located on low-lying topography to higher grounds. Now, in state like Bayelsa that has a low and flat topography that is so difficult to find a higher land to move affected communities, what can be done by such state are that they can engage on dredging of these rivers to enhance their storage and carrying capacity. Because, for instance, Bayelsa is the last state at the coast, and most of the waters that are carried by the two biggest rivers, rivers Niger and Benue, plus their tributaries, eventually end up in Bayelsa and empties into the Atlantic Ocean. And the flood waters find it difficult to recede because of the flat terrain. So what can be done in such areas are to continue to intensify dredging of the rivers, as well as construction of more drainage systems that can accommodate most of the excess flood water. In addition to that, Bayelsa also is a coastal state that suffers from coastal flooding because of sea level rise, tidal storms, and so on, is to build levees, flood walls, embankments, so that to prevent seawater surges inland. So these are some of the structural measures that the state can take. Now, the state are aware, because every year we send this flood outlook result to them, report to them, to their state emergency management agencies, to the state government, to take proactive actions before the onset of the rainy season. But what we are seeing is that most of these states are not being very proactive. Rather, it seems like we need to wait for flooding to happen before we now take reactive measures to curtail the impact of flooding. And that is not good at all, because by the time flooding is here, flood knows no one, destructions are made, people's lives are lost, livelihood are lost, people are displaced, critical infrastructures are destroyed, like road, bridges, railways, houses submerged and destroyed, and this amount to colossal economic losses to the country. We are of the view at Nigeria Hydrological Services that prevention is better than cure.
And that's what this whole conversation is about.
And how do we prevent this flooding?
Just a second. We'll come to those solutions, Mr. Jabo. But let's just raise the issues. Let's understand how severe the matters on hand are. Well, Mr. Arigwabu, I don't know what your thoughts are about that, the point that he made about the governors, like particularly the state governments, being proactive enough.
Yes, thank you. I kind of agree with him that, but more on the no side, really. And like Reverend Nemo said, we have improved on our ability to forecast what's going to happen, even though that still needs a lot of hands-on. But our ability to forecast is not really matched with our ability to respond proactively. Some of the flooding that we have seen this year has been, unfortunately, on goal against us. It is not to put a blame on anyone, but the reality, for instance, when you look at what happened in some parts of Lagos around in some axes in Lagos where it flooded, it flooded because maybe a contractor that was doing something needed to clear a path for the rains, and they didn't, and it flooded, and homes were affected. If you look at the flooding that happened in Mokwa, because it's not actually everything that NISA can predict. Flash flooding can happen for so many reasons that is not on your radar. There are things they are looking out for. So for the contractor who had to block something because he's doing a job, and then the rains came and that place was not unclogged and it flooded, NISA couldn't probably have seen that, neither could NIMET. So we need extra eye on some of these things. When you look at the flooding that happened in Mokwa, that flooding, that area that flooded actually had been knocking for years, because there's a railway embankment that has kept the water at bay. But snippets of the water have been going through the communities, because we were there on ground, and the communities confessed that actually they know that historically this was a river path. It's a flood path, but they have built it up entirely. And that every year they see the water, it comes, but it meanders and finds its way. But this time around, it's destroyed the railway embankment and hit the community, and then we had loss of lives in the hundreds. So many of the floods that we have been seeing are really, for me, home goals, because we are not doing what we ought to do. Unfortunately, the big flood has not yet come. We have not heard of any opening of any dam, as it were. The people along Lagos, they have not opened Oyon Dam. We know what's going to happen there. They have not opened up, released the Lagdo Dam and so many of the dams. So we know that towards the end of the year, the big flooding will come that destroys farms. And the ones that we have the best chance to reduce, because really we can't run away from it. Climate change, part of its consequences is that we are going to have intense heavy rains, than we had before, or sometimes no rain when we should have rain. So you really cannot predict much. But the ones that we have the ability to prepare for the most, especially, are the flash flooding, because wherever you see flash flooding, it's usually because we as citizens, we as government, have either done something that should not be done, or have failed to do the right thing. So
now, the issue you raised about the construction job going on, you are very correct. There is no way NIMET could have seen the civil disobedience, if I can use the term. NISA couldn't also have seen that civil disobedience. It goes back to the issue I raised about whether or not the state governments at various levels are proactive enough. NISA will give the outlook, and NIMET will predict whatever it is that they do. And though one can praise the yeoman's job that some state governments are doing, you've pointed out the students, our failure as citizens to do some needful stuff. That should come with certain consequences. So at what point what are the things that, when you say things that state government should do that they didn't do, things that they shouldn't do that they have done, what are some of those things?
Okay, so you see, some things happen and you'll be like, okay, this is why it happened. And maybe everybody goes scot-free and we take the lessons. But the problem with Nigeria is that it's going to happen the following year. It's going to happen again and again, and that's largely because there are no consequences. So, for instance, if a contractor was building, there needs to be an extra eye that is keeping an eye on NISA, on NIMET's predictions. We had the July break, and it didn't rain for over 2 weeks. At least it didn't rain heavily in most parts. And we know when it was going to start raining because NIMET started to say, oh, there's going to be heavy rain system in so places. There should have been an extra eye to be on that, to tell people who are constructing or doing whatever and needed to block drain paths to say, no, you need to unclog now and let the waters move. But okay, if that happened, the problem we are having is that it's going to happen again elsewhere. Even in this Lagos and in other parts of the country. So that's quite unfortunate. And you see this across the country. Nobody is keeping... look at, for instance, the Alao Dam collapse in Maiduguri. There's no consequences. Nobody has suffered anything because of it. Nobody has had to answer any question, at least not in the public knowledge. has had to answer questions for that. And this is something that destroys people's lives, livelihoods, and properties. It's something that could have been prevented. Even according to the governor of the state, he said that this thing is something they were aware of. This thing is something that the authorities in charge ought to have, fixed the dam and all of. But it happened. But we have not heard, at least in the public domain, that any action has been taken. So don't be surprised that such will happen elsewhere. We're a country where there are no consequences, at least on the part of government officials mostly. There are no consequences for such failures. And the implication of not having such consequences is that history will continue to repeat itself negatively, and we need to do something about it.
Okay. let me ask you, Mr. Bassi. There is something they call climate justice, and I want to believe that you are very well aware of it. And so, when the International Court of Justice gave an advisory on that one, and Mr. Arigwabu here is saying that there are no consequences, do you think that is something to play on, Mr. Bassi?
Not at all. It's a serious matter. Climate injustice or climate justice is a serious issue that many governments, unfortunately, do not take to heart. We seem to play along with those who are creating the crisis rather than standing up and defending ourselves. The climate crisis we're encountering, the heavy rains, are happening because some people are pumping carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases to the atmosphere far more than what could be permissible. And these are people who are, through production, through the burning of fossil fuels, through the undue consumption and dumping of waste across the world, these are creating the problems. And in Nigeria, of course, the climate justice demands that those who create the problem should do the most to solve that problem. But here we are always offloading the challenges on the victims. Even nationally, this is not just a global matter. It happens at a national level. We heard that some states are taking actions, but communities are not being supported. Communities are not being supported across the board. If you go to the coastal communities, you find the flood lines where the floods rose up on their walls in 2018, in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. All those lines are there. The fact that the lines are there on the wall, you can still read them so many years after, indicates to us that there's a serious economic consequences to this flooding, and that the people are unable to even repair their buildings that they've lost, that have been impacted over the years. So they keep staying in the same building, with no defense mechanisms, and the floods come and they keep on being displaced by the flood. So the victims are the ones who are bearing the brunt of this crisis. Now it's a national problem. If we don't have a national plan, whatever the states do may not adequately respond to the problem. We need to have a master flood handling plan, and then the subnationals would have certain action plans to respond, to bring to effect these national policies and national plans that are drawn up at the center. If you just throw money at them, recently the government gave the state 3 billion naira each. That may not result to flood resilience. We need to build real resilience across board, and this is where climate finance should go to. But globally, climate finance is going mainly to mitigation measures, not to adaptation measures. And nationally, I don't even know which one we are emphasizing on, because by now we should have stopped land filling or land reclamation of our wetlands. Without our wetlands being restored, being protected, we're going to have more flood impacts.
Okay.
When people keep on building estates and building all kinds of things everywhere without regard to where the floods, where the waters would sink into the ground at, then we're going to have a lot more problems.
Well, Mr. Bassi, I'll ask you this one question again on this same issue that you're raising. My sincere apologies. You talked about, all these issues that you have raised. Who should be at the forefront of it? That's really the question that I'm asking, because I'm not sure that we have quite counted the cost. Okay, let me ask Mr. Jabo, from what you know, who should be, are we able to count the costs, really? Mr. Jabo, are we able to value the losses that we experience as a result of this whole thing?
Yeah, the cost from flood damages are very, very phenomenal. And the responsibility is for everyone. Everyone to do what is expected of him or her. Because flooding, like I said, knows no boundary, and therefore attempt to mitigate or reduce the impact falls on everyone. For instance, NISA is an institution that is doing its own part, doing the forecast. The information is given out. Those state government, local government authorities, state institutions like SEMA, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations, everyone is expected to play a role so that, like you said, the cost is very phenomenal. So it is the responsibility of everyone. No one should be blamed. But my view is that, like I always said, prevention is always better than cure. If this information about flooding year in, year out is there in public domain and recommendations are given as what to do to the institutions responsible at the state, local government level, even at the federal level, like NISA do forecast and NIMED do forecast, then NEMA carries on with relief materials and evacuation of communities. Those communities that have been forecasted to suffer heavy flooding, they should know, like I said, the time it is going to occur and the locations. People should take proactive measures to move to higher land before the flooding even happens, so that way some of these devastations that we witness every year can be reduced or minimized.
You know, I hear you, Mr. Jabo. Just one second.
Your question,
I hear you, but I'm always concerned when I hear that we are advising people to move to higher grounds. The emotional connection, Mr. Arigbabu, let me bring that to you. The emotional connection that people have to their ancestral homes, their properties, and all of those things, they are there. But I want to ask this question around planning, town planning, urban planning, and all of that. It's the reason I keep going back to the States. And I apologize. I hope I'm not, it doesn't look like I'm just trying to look for someone to lay blame on. We know, just as you said, we know flood paths, we know flood plains, we know that these areas are likely to be flooded. Now, we know that the people who had been living in these flood plains, they have been living in danger all the while. But rather than put them off, we give other people permission to live in those environments. Another example is power lines. We know that people are not supposed to live near power lines. In Lagos alone, for instance, there's somewhere around Iju that people are practically living under these power lines, God forbid any emergency. And same thing is happening for floodplains. You talked about the areas that people would need, they know that these things are going to happen. If we saw them, if we permitted them to live in those areas, simply because the flooding happens maybe just a brief period in a year, have we not enabled the people to live there and consequently put their lives in jeopardy?
So this can be divided into two. The first is to talk about people having historical attachment to certain areas, and you can't take that away. It happens everywhere in the world. But reality is that things are changing, and for safety of life and for the perpetuation of their lineage and, tribe, sometimes people have to take some very serious decisions to preserve lives over heritage. And that is not to undermine or underplay the importance of heritage and culture and attachment to the lands. The other side is what happens in the urban area mostly, where many of the times people really do not have that much of attachment other than survival or right of first comers. Oh, we got here first and we have started to build. You see, it goes back to what we say about consequences. A state like Lagos, for instance, has suffered in the hands of, unfortunately, from the past, unscrupulous civil servants who have given permits to people to build where they shouldn't, or those who have looked the other way where new settlements were developing and didn't ensure that things are done according to because Lagos is a state that has plans. If people don't comply with the planning, it's a different thing. Most part of Lagos, there's some scheme or what have you. There are schemes that are supposed to be for agriculture. There are some that are supposed to be for residential. There are some that are supposed to be for commercial. But many a times you find people violating. That's why you find most of Surulere places that are supposed to be strictly residential are now largely commercial, even find nightclubs and all. So we have this penchant, you know, for violating the rules. Unfortunately, some people permit it. That's why I say it comes back to no consequences. There are people who have retired 20 years back, 30 years back, not just Lagos, it happens everywhere, even in First Act, where you have federal housing authorities. Now you're having government thinking of, do we need to, you know, remove some houses so that there could be sanity here? But where were those people who permitted for those structures to come in place? Even if they have retired, we need to bring them back to face some consequences. That's the only way we are going to ensure that the madness stops. Until that is done, people think that everything they do in civil service, once they are done and gone, other people can live with the mess. That's why today, Lagos State government is having a Herculean task of moving people or, you know, bringing down houses. You know, sometimes government looks harsh and wicked, but some things are reality. You got to do, you got to move people, you got to help them save their own lives, or you got to at least move them away so that other people's lives and properties will be saved. And these are some of the tough decisions that governments needs to make. Unfortunately, politicians shy away from some of these things. That's why you find in many places across the country, you find people where they should not be. And then there's one more thing I need to mention, really. Often also when government tells people to move, aside from the fact that the information push people into a state of inertia, they don't know where to move to, there's no support. When you go to, we have been to many states where we have had incidents of flooding. They don't know about that their states even have state emergency management agency. Lagos has a very proactive one. But many states, even states that have, the best they see is NEMA. And that's why NEMA is such an octopus almost everywhere. But what is important is that in all of those places where you say people should move and they fail to move, it is historical lack of trust in government. Even in Lagos, it's there. The people of Morocco have their experiences. So when government comes and says, look, you need to move from this place, because the people want to be sure that you are not going to move them, upgrade the place, and sell to only the rich. So we need to also deal.
That some people say have happened before.
It has happened even here in Lagos. It happened under Raji Rasaki, you know, and subsequent civilian government that came didn't do anything to address that injustice. And there are so many of such across the country. So where you have this historical lack of trust between government and citizens, people would rather stay where they are and, you know, damn the consequences than trust government, because they are like, we are moving from pan to fire.
Mr. Bassi, do you agree with Mr. Rigbabu about consequences, bringing back those who gave permits that's causing the loss of lives and livelihood today, to come and answer some questions? Recently, the Environment Commissioner in Lagos has gone out of town, you know, all over the place, pulling down not just houses, but estates. The same thing has happened in the FCT. Incidentally, these are the two former capitals. One is the current capital of the nation. To pull down whole estates just so as to preserve the environment. Do you think that's a good way to go, to call back those who perform this, what some will call heinous acts, to come back, answer those questions so that others who are in service now can take a lesson?
You know, that's a very difficult question, and it's also a difficult challenge. I think it all goes down to the issue of governance. Public officials should actually ensure that they follow policies of government. That's what they paid to do. And if people make approvals for infrastructure that ought not, that are located at places that create crisis for other people, of course there should be consequences. There should be. And there's a lack of this fact that we don't have these consequences, maybe because of political reasons, maybe one factor why this is going on. But you know, we may be looking at the big cities, Lagos, Abuja, but what is happening in the poorer communities? What is happening in Borno State, where the dam burst last year and created serious floods and displaced almost 1 million people? What is happening at Yetoro in Ondo State that has lost almost half of its territory to flooding and sea level rise? What is happening to Sangane, Bayelsa State? What is happening even in Akwa Ibom State? We need to look at how the government is constructing its infrastructure itself, not just individuals. Are we having climate-proof infrastructure? The highways we're building, the concrete highways, coastal highway, for example, is it climate-proof? Would it stand against when these floods come? What are the considerations? We need to have a public debate about this. And it's very critical that we have a national agreement. The states, the subnational should meet with the center and agree on how to distribute the action that need to be taken. We can't have these episodic responses once in a while. There has to be an integrated response to the issue. It's about planning, planning, planning. Even at the community level, there's need for communities, the leaders and the associations to meet together and agree on where can be built upon and where must be left, so that when the waters come, they have a way of escaping and not affecting people. How are we protecting our communities? How are we protecting our cities? What are the drainage plans? What are the flood resilience plans? These are the critical issues. Then those who don't implement those decisions made cannot just go scot-free without facing the consequences of their actions. And the consequences could include not just imprisonment, but it could include having them, ensuring consequences not just on the people, but having those assigned these duties to know that the duties that are being given are such that would have serious implications and consequences if they fail in duties and maybe play just to the rhythm, to the beat of those who want to grab everything and not care about those who will be victimized and who will suffer for when these floods come.
You know, looking at the pictures on the screen right now, it's very, very heartbreaking. Very, very, very heartbreaking. And to imagine that some of these things, some of these decisions may have been made just for money, that whatever the amount is, it ends with the word only. In other words, it's not more than that. Mr. Jabo, I know that, in fact, let me even ask you, perhaps from an emotional or sentimental side, because I can't imagine what NISA and NIMET and the rest of the agencies of government in this space go through when you predict something, you tell people this is what is likely to happen. It seems like people avoid the issues you are raising. How do you feel when you see the consequences of inactivity or disobedience that could have been avoided if your advice, your counsel, particularly again to the various state governments, was heeded? How does it feel?
Yes, actually, we feel so sad about the whole thing. So sad in the sense that all the effort we put in, year out, we still witness this kind of level of destruction by flooding in the society, on infrastructure, and on the ecosystem. And particularly, it's not that this information is not in public domain before these things happened. The information are there. So, like I said, everyone has a role to play in this issue of mitigation of the negative impact of climate change. If everyone, like we are saying, we are talking about issue of town planners who approve for building plan, who give land in flood-prone areas for people to construct structures. So the issue is this, like I said, everybody has one thing or the other to play to mitigate the impact of flooding. It takes a multifaceted approach to really reduce these destructions that we are seeing in the society.
Okay.
So my appeal still is this. When these notifications are given out, we are appealing to people to please adhere to these notices.
Okay, just 1 second. On that issue, Mr. Jabo, just 1 second, Mr. Jabo,
yes.
And I'll still stick with you. What can the people themselves do, particularly those who have no alternatives, nowhere else to go? That's the reason it seems like, my attention is on the state governments and maybe even the local governments. But what can the people themselves, look at what's on the screen, Mr. Jabo. What could the people have done? Where could they have gone to? They have no alternatives. Their lives, their livelihood is usually just cycloned in just one area. So what do you think the people themselves can do?
Yes, sir. First of all, people who are prone to flooding must first of all know their status. If, for instance, your house or your business is located along the riverbanks, waterways, floodplains, low-lying areas, these are areas that are prone to flooding every year. So what we expect from particularly the state government is, having known that these people are vulnerable to flooding year in, year out, is to find a way of permanently relocating those settlements, irrespective of this cultural settlement that is attached to land, buildings, and so on. Life is so important. And because of such sentiment, we cannot afford to leave people to suffer this type of casualties. So the thing is to be very bold, relocate these communities entirely to higher ground, or we can build displacement camps for these people, so that during this period that they are very, very vulnerable, they can go temporarily, relocate them temporarily to these structures, so that they can wait after maybe the end of the flooding season. People can now come back to their homes and continue with their life businesses. Because, like you rightly said, yes, people are really powerless. They are not economically strong to really even help themselves. So that is where we expect the government, not only government, even non-governmental organizations, the private sector, to come in to assist these vulnerable communities by doing one thing or the other that can safeguard their lives, safeguard their livelihood, and then restore hope to these people. We cannot afford to leave people like this suffering this kind of casualty year in, year out, year in, year out. It is the responsibility of everyone, like I am saying. If everyone plays his or her own part down to individual level, we can seriously minimize this impact that
Thank you so much, Mr. Jabo. There is something that Mr. Jabo just mentioned now, Mr. Arigbabu and Mr. Basa. I'd like you to speak to it very, very quickly. How possible that is, that people should know their status, the status of their environments. Do you think that will help in staving off this annual disaster?
It is very important, because at the end of the day, each person is responsible for their own well-being, their own safety, their own lives. Even though we have state responsibilities, but people have, and the reality is that there are some parts of the world, that are already overtaken, by realities of climate. Islands are disappearing, so relocating communities, might be an extreme measure, but yes, it's one of the measures that will work in some places that there are no alternatives. But somebody has to lead in that response. And the government must build trust. Not that you move people from a place and then the place becomes a riviera for the rich.
Okay. Mr. Bassi.
Yes, I think the challenge is that we have a system where the victims of climate change, victims of flooding are left to cater for themselves. Even when funds are provided to take care of them, maybe in displaced people's camps, there's actually very little transparency. Infrastructure that's broken for many years are still yet to be repaired. Recently, I watched a simulation, computer simulation of the impact of flooding and canalization on coastal communities. So you can actually predict in the next 5, 10 years which areas are going to be lost to the ocean. And you could see people pointing to the ocean and say, my house, my family used to live there, right in the ocean. So the attachment, the displacement, and the impact on communities, on the people's well-being is so enormous.
Absolutely.
And we can't place the blame on the people. The blame
and that's a very, very important point to make there, Mr. Bassi, the fact that the victims are the ones that we continue to vilify, which really shouldn't be. Consequently, hence the reason we are asking that governments at various levels should do the needful. The federal government, I don't think the federal government can know what's happening in the states enough. Forgive me, I've been accused of always saving the federal government and looking at and castigating the states. That's not the case. The federal government has its own problems, absolutely no problem. But can we pay attention to the people who can actually affect people's lives directly? That's the reason this whole thing is, because we can go ahead and give you the stories that will make the headlines. But how about impact on the people's lives? That's what this whole conversation is about. Thank you so much, Mr. Nemo Bassi, environmental activist, for your perspective this morning. Mr. Stephen Jabo, head of the Department of Hydrogeophysics and technical advisor to the DG Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NISA. We appreciate your time this morning, as well as Mr. Suleiman Arigbabu, Executive Secretary, HEDA Resource Center. Thank you so much for your time today. Now, we move to another conversation this morning, again, about the states, but maybe not just the states. We'll be right back to talk about it. Thank you for staying with us. Let's talk about hunger. Across our nation, millions are waking up to the same question: will there be food today? And that may sound or seem simplistic, but going by the numbers that we have seen in 2022 by the multidimensional poverty, and how it seems that not much is being done to fast-track the process of moving millions of Nigerians out of poverty, it definitely is a concern. And there is that saying in Western Nigeria that when you remove the problem of food from the poverty equation, poverty is significantly depleted. In Sokoto, the farmer watches his crops wither under a scorching sun. In Borno, mothers wait in long lines at clinics, cradling children weakened by hunger. And in cities from Lagos to Maiduguri, the price of a simple meal has doubled, forcing families to choose between food and other essentials. From what is available, information available says over 31 million Nigerians face acute food insecurity. Behind that number are real faces, real stories, and an urgent call for action. This morning, let's step into the stories. Let's hear from the frontliners on those who are doing something about the hunger crisis. The question we are asking is, how can we turn the tide before it's too late? Or are we falling behind or actually at the vanguard? Two gentlemen are with us this morning to discuss this. James Jayobe is a professor of agronomy and soil science. He joins us from Abuja studio. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
We also have with us Dr. Debo Akonde, who is an agribusiness development specialist at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. He is DG Oyo State Agribusiness Development Agency. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. Akonde.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Let's begin with you, Prof. Perhaps one of the first questions to ask is, in your opinion, do we have the numbers right about those who are facing this serious food crisis, hunger crisis? Do we have the numbers right?
Yeah, I didn't get your question.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good. So I'm asking if you think we have the numbers right. Some data says that over 31 million Nigerians are currently facing acute food insecurity. Do you think we have those numbers right? Are there more or less?
Yeah, it could even be more because there are a lot of Nigerians that are facing hunger right now, and it could be more. And the reason is not far-fetched, which I know we are still going to discuss more about that. Basically, probably Nigeria population is not even clear on this because over the years, there are a lot of people in this country, despite all the production efforts, but we still have more mouths to feed and probably less production in the country. So there's a deficit, a big deficit in the mouths to feed and the production system.
Dr. Akode, the same question to you, perhaps to start the conversation. Do you think we have more people? Because, as I said, the numbers are undulating between 31 to 33 million Nigerians living with hunger. These numbers are coming from the World Food Program, which says that as at November last year, 33.1 million Nigerians are likely to be in food insecurity this year.
For having me, I kind of agree more to the assertion that you made, and that is actually very factual. And there are diverse reasons why I am in agreement to that. Almost all the indices that could exacerbate the issue of hunger in any nation is gradually coming up in our country. If you look at nations where hunger has been a major problem, lack of attention to the space where agriculture is predominant, which is mostly the rural area of our country, is one factor that is always an issue. Issue of insecurity is another one. We're also seeing that in a good number of our subnationals, especially those areas where we've referred to as our food baskets within this country. In addition to that, I think the attention we are paying to the climate change impact on food production within this country is something that is also, happening here, and another major indices of that could result into hunger, reduction in food production. Other areas is about a kind of a policy that we are engaging on that has increased the cost of food production within this country, and that is almost making food unaffordable, to ordinary Nigerians to buy. I'm aware that quite a high percentage of what an average Nigerian is earning today is going into buying food. So all this pulled together will obviously show that that figure is not valid. It would be much more than that.
Oh dear. And that's really okay. I'll come back to you, but I want to first of all provoke you by going back to Professor Jayabade. The federal government does not have land. This is my opinion, and anyone can take me up on it. We have state governors who are in charge of the land, any land in Nigeria, at least to the best of my knowledge. The Land Use Act and all of those things, they authorize the governor or the state government to take charge of that part. Consequently, the reason that they have Ministry of Lands here and there. And that also speaks to whether or not we have enough reason to be hungry or not. I am still befuddled by the fact, for instance, this is on the side, Prof. People are talking about GMO now, and there are those who are also quarreling with it and saying we have too many open spaces, too much land in this country to be talking about GMO when we have not cultivated like half, if at all anything close, of the land, the arable land that we have in the country. Do you think there are issues in the way of the state governments in particular doing this? We have a food basket of the nation that is nowhere near that anymore, it would seem. And we have states, for instance, like Oyo State. We'll come back to Dr. Akonde in a moment. Do you think the states are doing enough in the area of food production? What we had before, do you think we still have them? What are the issues that you think we need to address to make us do better in food production, Professor Jayaba?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm happy you raised the issue of the arable land in Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria has a very large arable land, which more than 40 to 60% are still not cultivated yet, you know. However, even those that are being cultivated over the years, little attention have been paid over the quality of the soil health. Over the years, the land have been put into cultivation year in, year out, and the quality of the soil, the fertility of the soil, the health of the soil are not being considered. Although this period, we are having almost the best attention on soil when we have the government, federal government will of promoting Nigerian farmer soil health scheme. Having said that, the states are the custodian of the land based on the Land Use Act. And the disconnect between the productivity of the states and the utilization of the human resource that we have is one of those things that is bringing the gap between the level of productivity in the country. There are other issues that we are going to discuss later, but let's lay the foundation right. If we get our soil productive with every other thing in place, you can be sure that the output of the soil will be better. Let me give you an instance. We have a number of potential good seed that the National Seed Council has released over time for cassava, for maize, for rice, for different crops in Nigeria. And all of these crops, varieties have high-yielding varieties, high-yielding quality and potentials. But, for example, cassava, with Dr. Akonde and co working in IITA on cassava, have done a lot of work in improving the variety and the yield of cassava, and they have released them into the society for farmers to use. Yes, some of them are potential 11, 12, 13 tons per hectare. But what do we get in our farmers' field? With the best practices, 10, 5, 6, sometimes 4 tons per hectare. That is what we get. And this is the reason for this low productivity is because of the quality of the soil, of the land. So we are not just not cultivating enough, but even those that we are cultivating, the quality, the soil quality is depreciating over time with little attention paid to global gap, good agronomy practices. So we are not using the best combination of organic and inorganic fertilizers to improve our soil. So because of that, the potential of this of the land is reduced, and this is one of the major reasons why we have low productivity of our land. Okay. Now, going back to the state, which I know Dr. Akande is going to say some things that your state is doing concerning arable land in Oyo State. And that is also what many states are doing. But they can take advantage because we have the population, we have the market.
There are many issues, Prof. There are many issues that I think a state government, like Oyo State or any other state should be looking at. You talked about the land. I mean, you have flown via helicopter or even airplanes over this country. You know the kind of arable, not just land, arable land that we have. Then we have the population. You talked about not just the market. We talk about a young population of something in the region of about 60 to 70% of them being under 30 or thereabout. And then we have, we have the brain. Dr. Akande, I know that, Oyo State is doing a lot in that regard. But the challenge has always been, first of all, you tell us what Oyo State is doing and what other state governments should be doing so that we can moderate this process better. Then, sustainability is a problem. The Oyo State example, for instance, the Fashola farms is decades old, and abandoned again for all decades as well. I also remember Arakunrin Akeredolu, the late Arakunrin Akeredolu, the former governor of Ondo State, also saying that certain aspects of agricultural, viability of Ondo State were abandoned for decades. So the challenge is not what you're doing now, it's first of all what you're doing, and then what's the assurance of sustainability over the next 10, 50, 100 years?
Thank you very much, and I'm really very happy that Prof has touched on some of the critical issues that we should be discussing around the subnationals, engaging in agriculture. Yes, as requested, I will speak to what Oyo State government has been doing and is currently doing as well. That has helped us a lot to increase our output as a state, and that is supporting a lot of this food insecurity within the country, as it were. I think I need to mention first that what I've found out is that while all subnationals are not on the same level, okay, as far as effort in terms of food production is concerned in this country, some that are not that doing well, maybe not because of their own giving, maybe they would like to do much more, but the situation that surrounds them is not allowing them to do that. I can make reference to places like Benue and Plateau that are seeing some incessant attack, of recent in core areas where food production should have been taking place. I think the similar thing applied in the previous government in Kaduna, but I think Kaduna is doing much more now, where there's been a lot of relief around all this kind of an attack. Well, in Oyo State, what we've been able to focus on as a state is to see how best we can relieve the risk, burden of farmers across board within the state. And what does that mean? As far back as 6-7 years ago, our strategy has focused on ensuring that our core area of investments in the state in the infrastructure is around the rural area. And if you go around Oyo State today, and I dare say that, just drive around Oyo State today in the rural areas, some of these roads that are available in the rural areas are things that are not even present in the urban area in some other states. In addition to that, we've gone further, to start constructing what we refer to as feeder roads today into the farm. Currently, we have over 1,200 kilometers of feeder roads, that we have started constructing. We've done close to around 100 kilometers. We are doing close to around 100 kilometers that are leading to all these roads that we have constructed around the state. The key areas, almost all areas in the Oyo State are good enough for diverse kind of a crop production. And what we have done is to create that connectivity around the area. Those that knows Oyo State very well, we know the newly constructed road by His Excellency the Governor of Oyo State between Iseyin, Fakote, Ogbomosho, the federal government road that was reconstructed by the state between Iseyin, Fashola, and Oyo. Similar thing applies to Iseyin, Moniya. We are doing the road between Ido and Iseyin. We have done the road between Iseyin to Shaki, and we are building quite a lot of rural areas. Those are the critical regions of the state where food production is coming from. And what is this doing? This is going to help us to reduce the usual 40% post-harvest loss, that we always experienced in crop production. Because two things or three things create that post-harvest loss. First is the issue of non-accessibility, of those farmers to move their product from farm, to where they can sell it or process it. The second thing is about the issue of aggregation of those crops within the farm gate. We are building what you call the agro-logistics, in those farms, currently agro-logistics hubs in those farms now. And beyond that as well, you have a problem of materials for planting that was mentioned by Prof. earlier. In Oyo State, again, we are working, making use of science, innovation and technology, to support our agriculture. And Excellency has ensured, that our seed systems has become top-notch. And what does that mean? Prof was right. The materials that we have been using in crop production in this country for a large period of time were old materials that will not give us yield that is more than limited yield. So we're talking about both intensive and extensive agricultural practices. Even in the intensive agricultural practices, we could get more yield. If you have small land, it's not necessarily about cultivating all the land. The small land that you have, what is coming out of it? So in Oyo State now, I can rightly tell you that by virtue of our relationship with, of course, I work with IIT, as you mentioned, we have started establishing seed farms for both vegetative and generative crops across the whole of the state. And we have examples, of that. So meaning that the materials that we are ditching out for our farmers in the state now are materials that will make them to have a higher yield of crops, within our state. We deploy IIT technology that is referred to as SME, autotrophic hydroponic system, that helps in the rapid multiplication of seed or planting materials, across the whole of the state. Again, if you come to some of these hubs that you have mentioned now, you will see this SAR technology within the place. We went further, and not just to start developing the seed system. We also start doing analysis of the materials that the farmers are using on the farm. It will shock you or may surprise you that during the COVID-19, when we're going to have a supply, of fertilizer within our state, we went behind those suppliers to go and do the analysis of those fertilizers. Fertilizer that was supposed to be 20-10-10, the result we got from it was 172-358. And what others do we have? If you have fertilizer that is already problematic, you rather planting materials that are old or that are rather grazed rather than seed, bad agronomic practices, climate change problem. I'm sorry, it is garbage in, garbage out. So we are overcoming that as a state by using science and innovation to back ourselves up. And the icing on the cake, as you have mentioned, is the industrial hubs that we are building across the whole of the state. We've done one at Fashola. We have already, just last week, we did a groundbreaking of another one in Irua, in Nigeria, sorry. We've done one in Irua a couple of months ago that construction is going to be commencing. And the implication of this to the state is that we are developing a system where farmer doesn't need to come to IIT or ILWI, or some of these international research institutes to learn, to know, and to understand what is the innovation and the best practices to engage. Okay. We are building a hub within the community of the farming area, and it is going to be replicated in all the regions of the state. So one, you'll be able to see what innovation, what technology is available that is modern that you can adopt. Beyond that, there are industrial areas within all these hubs. At Fashola alone, we have close to around 10 industries, processing cassava, processing cashew, processing tomato, and also even producing milk, through dairy system within the hub. And I invite, as many as folks that are interested in learning, about this to come over and see what His Excellency, the Governor of the state, Engineer Oluwaseyi Makinde, is doing around that particular area as well.
And
what that does is that
My apologies, Dr.
Learn
Akande.
and see what modern approaches of
yeah, I know. I mean, your passion for agribusiness is well documented, and as Professor Jaraba has also said, it is something that is also known. But let me ask you, Prof. Dr. Akande said not all states are at the same level in terms of food production. I would like you to speak to the veracity or otherwise of that, because even those that have what it takes over the years had abandoned what needed to be done. Earlier, we spoke about flooding. Flooding has eradicated the capacity of some states. Benue has struggled with insecurity and flooding, for a while, and consequently, its status as food basket of the nation, I don't know how well we can still rate that. Some of these things are perhaps reversible. Some of them are perhaps avoidable. What are your thoughts on what Dr. Akande said about all states not being at the same level in terms of the capacity to produce food for the country?
Yeah, coincidentally, Nigeria is so blessed, we have diverse ecology, and we have diverse opportunities and commodities. We have, from the coastal area to the Sahel of this country, they have area of comparative advantage to make them to be a world leader. When I mean, mark my word, world leader in each of these commodity production. We need our subnational now to be proactive in a number of ways, and I will itemize them. For example, our mechanization percentage as a nation, national average, is 0.27%. What we are saying is that less than 1% of Nigerian farmers are using mechanization. It shows that the manpower, human effort, human tools, hoes and cutlasses is what our farmers are using over 90%. Now, let me give you a comparison. India has 2.6 horsepower per hectare. Nigeria is 0.027 horsepower per hectare. China is 4.1 horsepower HP per hectare. And thank God for the present government. With the removal of subsidy, there are more money that are coming to the subnationals. That means they are empowered to have the opportunity to mechanize the production system. What it means is that if an human being can do 0.27 horsepower per hectare, a machine will do multiple of 4.1. If you calculate the percentage of that, is in thousands over the effort of human being. And that is also translates to our production system. So the more we mechanize, for example, we heard of Niger State, what Niger State was able to do in buying a lot of tractors for farmers, and even declare himself as a farmer governor. And it has translated to a number of things in Niger State. Yes, compare also to what Oyo State, what Dr. Akande said, wonderful thing that Oyo State is doing, another state. If every state can utilize the resources that is within them and increase their budget allocation to agriculture. I asked one of my PhD students recently to do an analysis of fiscal budget of the subnationals in agriculture. It is so interesting and so baffling that even the 10% that is recommended, less than half of the states in Nigeria, less than 10 or 15 states are actually having 10% allocation of their budget to agriculture. And what are we talking about? If we can increase our budget allocation to agriculture, increase financing to farmer, improve infrastructure, just like Oyo State is doing, of these feeder roads and infrastructures for farmer, to reduce post-harvest, to stimulate production, to have farm settlement where we can bring in youth, young people to have gainful employment. There's different from engaging youth in agriculture and making them to have to see agriculture as a gainful employment for them. That is when they will stay.
Okay.
Many of them are not staying because
we're running out of time, Prof, and I appreciate the perspective that you have brought into it to make the system a little more open. Perhaps that's the last question I'd like to ask you, Dr. Akonde. How do we open up the system? You've invited people to come to Oyo State to come in and see, what Oyo State is doing. What's the entry level? You talked about the special agro-industrial processing zones that have been commissioned too in Oyo State now. What's the entry level for anyone who wants to get into that space? Because it will seem like the doors are open, but we don't even know how to get through the maze to get to the door.
Thank you very much. In all fairness, I must say that a good number of states has come to meet with us in the state. I won't be mentioning the names of the state. At least I can count close to around 9 states that has paid a visit to us and to understudy what we're doing. Oyo State Agribusiness Development Agency is an agency that was established close to 5 years ago. That is seated under the Office of the Governor as a special purpose vehicle for development of agriculture and industrial agriculture beyond what the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development is doing in the state, and that remains to be the entry point. By the way, I'm the DG of the agency, but I also work as the executive advisor to His Excellency on agribusiness, and so I have an oversight as far as advice is concerned to both agencies and the ministry as well, and in terms of advice. And so, yes, I'm available, for that high level, and the agency is here at other levels as well. Okay. But if you permit me quickly to just mention one thing, okay, that where I spoke about the differences that exist and the reason why we need to build up for all other states as well, because it should be a collective responsibility. Between December and April 2025, we have what they call the exit control posts in Oyo State, like 3 of them in Oyo State. And we get our data of what food product move out of the state and the quantity that move out of the state. Between December to April 2025, we recorded 11,331 tons of cassava that was moved out of the state in one of these exit control posts alone. If I convert this 11,331 tons of cassava to Gari alone, I will have 44,000 bags of Gari, meaning that 44,000 bags of Gari was recorded as being moved out of Oyo State alone between 5 months. We are updating the data, and we are collecting data across all of the exit posts. It shows to us that, while others are struggling, quite a number are coming to the state to come and move product out. Of course, it's one Nigeria, but if this production has been taking place in other states as well, maybe it will have been a material that we'll be able to use within our state. Just to mention that this is very, very critical and very important to ensure that subnationals are strengthened enough, to continue to produce food. As you rightly said at the beginning, it's the state that has the land, it's the state that has the people.
Absolutely, and there is no further discussion on that matter, because clearly a lot can be done. Why those things aren't being done, we shouldn't be looking at excuses anymore, because the reality of hunger is stuck in the face, and we can cut down these numbers simply by producing, as Professor Jayoba has said. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Dr. Debo Akonde, Agribusiness Development Specialist at the IITA, DG Oyo State Agribusiness Development Agency, and Executive Assistant to the Governor of Oyo State on same. Thank you for your time, as well as Professor James Jayoba, Professor of Agronomy and Soil Science. We appreciate your time and your perspectives this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Now, when we return, we're talking about another issue, also in another area of life that's equally gotten the attention of the federal government to add to the GDP. What's that? Talk about that when we return. Thank you for staying with us. Now, across Africa, creativity is more than an art, it's an industry and an economy for many young people. It's also a lifeline of opportunity. But while the talent is here in abundance, the platforms, resources, and networks to help that talent thrive have often been out of reach. Maybe that's why we have Tikera Africa, which we understand launched with a bold vision to transform Africa's creative economy. Now, let's have a conversation this morning with a cultural anthropologist, founder Madhouse by Tikera, official photographer of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria between 2015 and 2023, Mr. Bayo Omoboriowo. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
I could ask you questions straight up about, your job as an official photographer to the president. How do you apply for that job? Let's start with that.
I think I always say the job found me. There was no application. There was just a journey that evolved and then found its destination at the presidential villa. And that journey was just the passion for creativity, the passion for photography, which started when I was in University of Lagos, where I remember squatting in the hostel, and I had nothing to live on. And I realized that, they said adversity is mother of invention. I realized there was this natural passion for photography that was inside of me. And that passion started coming out, So they said if there's no, if you seek passion, passion will come out, So the passion of the hunger had to allow passion to come out, And then I realized I started moving from, hostel to department photographing. And then I realized it was one thing that came natural to me. Without doing so much, I was able to experience and explore that natural tendency within me. And I was able to travel, journey through from University of Lagos to NYSC. And then from there, I started doing different things, working for different organizations, telling development stories. And at the point, I realized there was a gap in political narrative. We were not telling the story of our political leaders enough compared to what was happening in the developed world. I was always standing at newspaper stands, and I always see what other nations were portraying about their nation and what Nigeria was portraying about its leaders. And that was why I said, there's a gap in this place. And for me, I believe in solving problems. I believe in contributing to, development. I believe in Nigeria, and I believe that my photography and the craft I had could become the tool for that transformation. And that was how I moved from that point, started photographing political leaders, experimenting, and like they say in technology, I was piloting and doing my prototypes. And that led me into the presidential campaign of late President Muhammadu Buhari, which then led me to photographing him for 8 years.
Very quick one, please. We don't have to waste too much on it, but how was that experience for you? You have to focus on one particular principle. You had to travel all over the place with him. What was your experience like? If you can just summarize that in a few words.
I think it was life-transforming. It gave me access. It gave me a window to the world. It gave me a front row seat in national development, which is something I had always been passionate about, to see that my skill could actually earn me a seat at learning. So if you say what was my biggest benefit from working in the villa, is the knowledge I got, which no school can ever teach you.
Awesome. Now let's talk about this new passion, is it new? Is it something that came after the 8-year experience, or it is something that's always been with you, Tikera?
I think it has always been a journey for me. It's a journey of my own becoming and a journey of how I transfer what I had carried within me over my life experience to other people. I believe life has been fair to me, giving me a platform of an accelerated journey, career journey. At 27, I was already, working with the president. I think I was the youngest or the second youngest person that was appointed with the president. And immediately I got to the villa, I felt there was a yearning from young Nigerians out there. We want this opportunity. We want the privilege. We want to tap into your knowledge. We want to share knowledge with you. We want you to transfer what you carry to us. And that was where Tikera Africa was born. Started as Unabashed Africa and then became Tikera Africa, where I started, especially when the president was sick in 2016. I started moving from state to state, training other people, transferring the knowledge of photography I owned to other people across Nigeria. And then even got to the point where we went outside of Nigeria because people were asking, we want to learn from you. We want to learn from you. And that was where Tikera Africa was born. Why? Because I believe knowledge transfer, reinventing education is one of the things that can help us accelerate in catching up with the rest of the world. We have so much value within us, but if we don't transfer this knowledge, if we don't share this knowledge, if we don't create platform, enabling environment, creatives will not thrive as they should. And we've seen it all around the world. It's time we bring it home, bring it to this place that people can actually become impacted.
Okay, this is quite ingenious. Now, help us understand. This is part of the creative economy, so to speak, in the country. How?
Very well so.
And you have chosen a particular path in this. What are your, first of all, talk to us about this whole becoming that you talked about. You said the launch, it's going to be launched on a particular day. Is it something that is yet to be launched or something that has already been launched?
So one of the things I've learned about life is stay silent until they say, tissue or mobile for bojeni. Then also the adage that says that, you ensure that everything is right before you put it out there. Tikera Africa started years ago, but immediately after I was serving in government, I could not do so much. I could only do very little with the little time and the opportunity I had. So I waited till I was out of government to then go full on. And what is it? Creative enterprise is the new oil. Creatives in Nigeria and in Africa have done so much around art for art's sake, art for passion. One of the two things that have succeeded is music and movie. But we have so many other elements, so many other components of creative industry that is yet to be explored, that we need to exploit to give us the future that we want. One of it is fashion. This is fashion, and a fashion piece I'm wearing from Ekikere, a Nigerian brand. Using our culture, hinged on culture, this is raffia material. But guess what? The world is yearning for things like this. For us at Tikera Africa, we believe it's time for us to compete favorably with the rest of the world. But we can't compete for art's sake alone. It's time to compete art for economic sake. It's time for us to look at our numbers. Our numbers is our strength. How do we become the hub for creative production, not just creative creation? A lot of creatives in Nigeria and in Africa are creating out of passion, which is very good. But how do we now begin to create, to scale, to industrialize, to begin to earn, where creativity becomes a driver of socio-economic development, social impact, economics? Creative industry needs to begin to contribute to the GDP of Nigeria in a tangible and massive manner. Creative industry needs to put government on its toes to say, we are a huge contributor. And how do we want to do this? We want to raise creatives who are interested in scaling. It's time for us to think scale. How do we build industries out of creativity? How do we convert the knowledge that we carry, the potentials we carry? And at Tikera Africa, we say what? It's time to know more, it's time to do more, it's time to earn more. Where creative industry begins to create jobs, where creative industry begins to lift a lot of people out of poverty. And for us, we piloted that, we did all our test run, and on August 12th, we are launching to the world. And why are we launching? Because we've done the test run with Madhouse in Lagos. We built Madhouse in University of Lagos, where I started my career. Madhouse today is the first purpose-built creative incubator in Nigeria. And it has hosted world leaders, German Chancellor, Queen of Denmark, European Union, ECOWAS. Today we are working with African Union, we are working with GIZ, we are working in partnership with the Ministry of Art, Culture, Creative Industry and Tourism in Nigeria, and we are saying it's time to scale up. Everything we've done is a pilot. It's time to take over Nigeria, it's time to take over Africa, and position the creativity that we carry as a driver of socio-economic development. And on August 12th, we are going all out, unveiling our board of trustees, and we are also unveiling our programs that is going to take us to the destination we are looking forward to.
Do these platforms include the Creative Village, Madhouse by Tikera, Lens-based incubator program, and Reimagining Hope Residency?
Exactly. So what we've done now is we started with Madhouse in Lagos, which we've been running for about 1.5 years. It is one of the most impactful creative laboratory that Nigeria has ever created. Today, it has become a destination for all creatives. Creatives are being impacted. We are reinventing education there in Lagos. So right now, if you go to University of Lagos by the Lagoon front, you will find a beautifully constructed creative incubator, one of its kind in Nigeria. And the plan with that is that we are going to scale this to 6 states, 1 in each geopolitical zone across Nigeria. That's Madhouse. And Madhouse is purely a place where we are using education to prepare the minds of these young creatives. And one of our goals is to make sure that it is situated in a university or around a university because I started from a university. If I wasn't in University of Lagos, or I didn't tap into the opportunity that University of Lagos and community gave me, and like I always say, university is the best place anybody can start because your colleagues, your classmates are your experiment ground. You can use them to learn. So we have put Madhouse in University of Lagos, and we're planning to put it across other universities in 6 geopolitical zones for a start. Now in Abuja, which is the central of Nigeria, we have started a new community called The Village. And The Village is another space where we are trying to bring, and the ideology behind The Village is leaving no one behind. Because we realize that most of our creativity and creative energy has been focused on Lagos and Abuja, Lagos and Abuja primarily, but most of the strength is in Lagos. But in Abuja, we want to put the center of creativity there, where we can reach the northern part of the country, and we can be able to ensure that we are building people, and we say leaving no one behind. Because we realize that a lot of people who make the numbers in Nigeria are actually down there. And we are seeing that if we empower this number, in their millions, we'll be doing a whole lot. So Tikera Africa right now is starting a whole community in Abuja, and that is part of what we'll be launching. And we're starting with women, because we believe that if we empower women, we'll empower a whole generation. So the program in Abuja is going to be women-led, and it's going to be starting with Weaving Futures. And what are we doing with Weaving Futures? It's time we take the art of weaving to another level. It's time we begin to export our weaving products. It's time we position these women to earn, and earn decently, so that they can raise decent families.
You know, when you talk about the weaving, it just reminded me of an image that I saw, and my heart was broken. You know, the bag that we called Ghana Must Go. I saw that same bag woven with all kinds of colors, you remember? And I saw that this bag just had one label. It was being carried by celebrities in the world. Just one label. Yes. I think it's the YSL or Gucci, one of these brands. Just put the label on it, and guess what? Everybody was carrying it like it was some fashion statement. And I was like, wait a minute. This is not your bag. This is Ghana Must Go.
Now you are there. Now you are there. And that is the real passion. I have traveled all around the world, and I've seen what the world is celebrating. And I know that Nigeria has no business with being poor. Nigeria has no business with being rated a developing country. We have so much potential, but the biggest challenge we have is we leave a lot of things as raw materials. It's time for us to begin to process. It's time for us to begin to produce at scale. It's time for us to position ourselves as a nation that really wants to empower its people. And I know efforts are being made left, right, and center. But guess what, like you said, the weaving. I've traveled so much that I've seen our raffia basket that we just buy 5,000 naira, very cheap on the road. And a lot of international people come to Nigeria and buy these things very cheap. How the world and celebrities are carrying it. So that's what we are doing with Weaving Futures. Where a woman, a child of nobody, or a mother of nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. That is Weaving Futures.
Okay.
Where the person you would have called an ordinary Nigerian can begin to earn. Because we are going to be collaborating with development organizations, we are collaborating with governments, we are collaborating with the international community, we are collaborating with big brands to say our people are valuable. And the arts they create has potentials to take over the world.
I could take you up on a number of other developmental issues, but let's stick with Tikera for now, because maybe some other time we'll talk about the developmental aspects of it. But there is something that is related I would like to bring to you now. Tikera Africa's Board of Trustees brings together leaders from different sectors. So how do you think this mix of expertise shape your strategies and outcomes in an environment where young people are very pessimistic about anything government?
I think for me, one of the things I've learned is that development can be true to what development should be. Impact can be true to what impact should be. And for us at Tikera Africa, we believe we really want to do this right. We really want to create impact that reverberates. We really want to create impact where the blind would see and the deaf will hear. That truly an organization has come and is doing its best to actually transform Nigerians, to transform Africans, to position Nigerians where they deserve to be. And what we've done is to select a board of trustees that can govern, lead, advise, help us to ensure that we stay true to our words. And that's why we've carefully selected a very diverse set of humans, which will be unveiled on Tuesday, to guide us, to advise us, to help us build a sustainable system. Because for us, we don't just want to be a flash in the pan where, we've heard so much from different, development people with good intention. And very good intention at that. But probably the structure around what they were doing was not properly put together. And that's why I told you, we started Madhouse, for instance, 1.5 years ago. But we've not gone out because we were ensuring that we build system and structures that would ensure that whatever we do is sustainable. So what we've done up until now is to build the foundation. And now we're about to build on that foundation. And we are building something very big on it. We are building high skyscrapers on that foundation. But that foundation is hinged on the very good board of trustees that are going to govern, direct, and lead us in the way we should go.
Okay, so give us the details of the event, the venue, date, time, and maybe what people are to look forward to as well.
It's happening on August 12th in Abuja here. It's happening at 11 a.m. It's going to happen at the village, the community we are creating. We are going to be unveiling the program, Weaving Futures program. We are going to be bringing forward the women that we've impacted already through our pilots program. We are going to be presenting, our programs, the programmatic direction we have. We are going to be presenting our scorecard with the pilots we've done up until now. We're going to be presenting, of course, the board of trustees, unveiling the board of trustees, and also showing people what the creative industry should actually be looking at. And one of the things for us is Nigeria has huge potentials, but we want to be on the front row seat of polishing that potential and helping it come to life. Well, Tikera Africa is the future, and the future starts now.
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to challenge you with, and of course you talked about it being a hub and all, is that I've seen a number of movies made with phones, as in phones. There have been movies that are made with CCTV cameras, and you have a lens-based incubation program that offers $10,000 in seed funding. Tell us about that one. Maybe how have winners in the past used this support to grow their creative expertise?
I think the lens-based incubation program was one of the first programs we launched at Madhouse in Lagos. It was a 3-month program, which we selected participants from all around Nigeria and even beyond. We got applications from the United States. I didn't even know people were paying so much attention to us. And this is pilot, you know, from United States, from Kenya, from Australia, from like everywhere all around the world. People were applying. And what did we want to do? We were trying to tell the world that the lens-based approach, which was my own foundation, I'm a lens-based practitioner as a photographer, so I wanted to start from that point. It's time for us to begin to think scale. Why should you just photograph? Put it on Instagram and you're waiting for likes and comments. How much is that going to earn you? Or the number of photographers that are on your followers on Instagram are the ones liking and commenting. How is that going to feed you or pay rent? So we wanted to change the mindset of creatives to say, this lens-based approach can actually become a driver of economic acceleration like you've never thought about before. So we brought all of these guys together, we screened, we had almost 1,000, I think we had over 300 people that we screened down till about 20. And then from there, we started doing trainings, we're inviting speakers, we're doing pitch deck, business model, business canvas, and then they came up with brilliant ideas. Some of them, there's a guy now that is producing photography equipment with locally sourced materials. And what he's trying to do is that we no longer need to bring in equipment from China, the US, or Japan. We can make those materials here.
I hope this is going to be one of your shows. My apologies. I hope, because I'm running out of time. I hope this is going to be one of your showpieces on that day, on Tuesday. Quick one, is your website tikera.org?
TikeraAfrica.org.
TikeraAfrica.org. Okay. Anyone
and
who
on
needs
Instagram as Tikera Africa as well.
Okay. So this is the website, I believe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly
so there's going to be a lot of information for so many people on this website. So go to tikeraafrica.org. You get more information there, particularly about this program coming up, the launch of Tikera Africa coming up on Tuesday this week. We have to thank you at this time for your time today, Mr. Bayo Omoboriowo, cultural anthropologist, founder, Madhouse by Tikera, an official photographer of the President of Nigeria between 2015 and 2023. I look forward to more conversations with you on this and a number of other issues in time to come. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. I deeply appreciate it.
All right. Now, when we return, it's time for us to look at lifestyle. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, let's talk about your blood. Yes. So, picture this. Your blood is like a busy highway, carrying oxygen, nutrients, and protection to every part of your body. But just like any highway, it needs the right fuel to keep moving smoothly. Let's just pray that there are no road bumps. Now, imagine skipping the right foods. Slowly, the traffic clogs. Red blood cells struggle to carry oxygen, your immune system weakens, and fatigue becomes a daily companion. Over time, the risks grow. Anemia, poor wound healing, even reduced brain function. The good news, what's on your plate can change the story. I've seen this, as a Hippocrates that said, let food be your medicine and let medicine be your food. Well, that ascription is there. So foods rich in iron, folate, vitamin B12 can strengthen your food and keep your energy. Why am I talking like one of them? I'm not the one to do the talking this morning. We have with us a consultant hematologist and executive secretary of the Lagos State Blood Transfusion Committee, Dr. Bodrin Oshikomaya, with us this morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much. I like your opening note. It looks like a poem. Yes, it looks very much like one. It would be nice if you could just get it together. We could probably put it on our platforms and acknowledge it.
Oh, okay.
It's yours.
Thank you.
Really, really nice.
You see? Now I'm a writer. Okay. I am not sure from your experience if you can say that people significantly attribute the health of their food, beg your pardon, the health of their blood to their food. In fact, do you think people even give much thought to blood health?
Well, I think people that realize that they do need blood are beginning to think twice about the health of their blood. Because the Bible says, I think, I can quote it, the life
the life is in the blood.
Is in the blood. So people are beginning to understand that there is so much that is in blood that makes you healthy. You see, even in Yoruba, if you have high blood pressure, they call it ejeruru, you know. If it's sickle cell, they call it jejere, cancers. So they are beginning to attribute a lot of illnesses, good health to blood. So I think things are changing, yeah.
I will still have, I want to see the data. The reason I say that is not because, of course, you know your onions, you know what you're talking about, but the way people just want to eat, right? Whether it is healthy enough or not, I think that's the question that I'm asking, whether you think people give attention to whether or not, oh, this one is going to help my blood and all of that.
Yeah, I still maintain the fact that people do think about it, but you're also right, people just want to eat because of the economy. They're like, what will fill my stomach? What will keep me hungry? What will keep me full for as long as possible? But people do think about it. In schools, it's being taught that you need this, at least in biology. From primary school, they'll tell you about the classes of food, the food types, and as you go, it's each year they keep mentioning things about food. So I know people think about it, and yes, also because of the economy, people just want to eat something. So it's a feel of both of them. Knowledge, yes, good, it's there, but what is actually done is another thing.
Now, can you help us break this down? First of all, we often hear you are what you eat, and then there's that Hippocratic statement, let food be your medicine and let medicine be your food. How does that specifically relate to the health of the human blood?
Yeah, because blood is manufactured from the bone marrow, and you need some things for it to be manufactured. And most of those things come from what we eat. So we have nutritional things that should support the production of blood and the constituents of blood. And then we also have hormones. We're not going to talk about that because without those chemical things, it's a mix of those things, the things you eat as well as the chemicals that are being produced in your body. So what are the things you eat? The most common class of food that is needed for healthy blood are under the classification of the nutrients. So we have the minerals and nutrients, and then we also need those proteins. So we have the major nutrients that should be taken, and we have the minor ones. So the most common ones, you mentioned it, iron. Without iron, really, you will not have adequate blood. So where can we get this iron from? They are usually from greens, leafy vegetables, and then reds. I tell people that once you need your iron, look out for the greens and the reds. And where do you have the greens? You have the ugus, you have the wedus, you have the okras, you have the spinach and things like that. The reds, you have the liver, you have kidney, and those are parts of, they are offals in the body, and then you have red meat. You also have a bit of iron in other things like cereals. So your beans, your rice, all those things, your grains. And if you could have enough of that, you could have adequate iron. Apart from iron, you have the vitamins. You have a lot of things like the vitamin B12, understand, you have folic acid. They are really important for red cells. And you can also get all those things, proteins like chicken, things like that. White meat has a lot of vitamins, B12, vitamins, folic acids in it. You also have the cereals, back to red meat too, it's also there. And you have every other vegetables, fruits and vegetables. So if you can have this, vegetables, and you can get vegetables almost everywhere. You can plant vegetables just around your house. It doesn't have to be in the farm. You can have good source of vegetables irrespective of the season. All you have to do is have a place where you can plant them. Apart from this, you also have, I mentioned proteins. our cells are made from protein. So if you don't have enough proteins, irrespective of those minerals and the nutrients you take, you still will not have enough to ensure that your cells are healthy. So it's all a mix of everything. And there are some things that people really don't talk about. They're really micronutrients. One of them is copper. Copper is really important because the enzymes that helps your body to use all those nutrients you've eaten have a lot of copper in them. So if you don't have copper, these enzymes will not be able to perform their function. So, well, I tell people that if you eat the food of color, you'll be healthy.
We've heard that statement before.
Oh.
In fact, there is a nutritionist that came here and said, you have to eat the rainbow.
Yes, you have to eat the rainbow.
Okay.
You take the foods of color, you will be healthy.
Okay. There are some people who like to do fast food. And I'm not talking about the fast food. They want the blood production to happen very, very quickly. So they combine malt drink with egg. So talk to us about that. If it is true that when you combine one malt drink, I don't know which brand, and you just put 1 or 2 eggs inside, you mix it together, your body will produce blood very, very quickly.
It's just a fad, it's a myth, it is not true. So those myths came out from people that donate blood. You know, you want to donate blood and you want your blood back immediately. They do not understand that when you donate blood, you lose some of your energy, some glucose leaves the blood. It's a part of the blood. And so when you take that malt drink, it helps you feel better because some glucose is returned back to your body. It's not like this malt drink is actually giving you blood. And then the proteins, as I said, you don't need proteins. It's just a myth. It's a feel-good thing. And sometimes you need feel-good things to want to donate blood, you know. Okay. So it's not true at all. All you need to do is to take a lot of water once you donate blood, and you hit your normal balanced diet, and your bone marrow will definitely produce more blood.
Okay. Now, for someone who feels constantly tired, could it be their diet and maybe by extension their blood health?
So tiredness can be caused by a lot of different things. It might not even be blood health. Oh. There might be other things. It might just be hungry if you're tired and you have adequate blood. So being tired is it's a symptom that might be caused by 1,001 things. So if you constantly feel tired, I will advise you to go to your healthcare provider and be well investigated. However, if the tiredness is related to blood health, it might be because you don't have enough blood. We know that blood performs a lot of different functions. One of the functions is to carry oxygen from place to place. So if you don't have enough blood, oxygen won't be carried to very important places like your brain. And so your brain is deficient of adequate oxygen that would help you to think right, that would help you to do a lot of things. Your muscles will not have enough oxygen that will help you to feel vital and strong enough to do a lot of things. And so if you do not have enough blood, the first thing we talk about, you need to know the level of how bad the anemia is. We'll check. If it is mild, we can just advise you on your nutrition, because nutritional deficiencies and diet is just one of the causes of inadequate blood. In this part of the world, apart from nutrition, the second most common cause of anemia is blood loss. And it could be from blood loss following deliveries or even during pregnancies. It could be blood loss from accidents. It could be chronic blood loss, like when you have ulcers, and we call it bleeding peptic ulcer. The person is an ulcer patient, is not well treated or is not adequately treated, and the body continues to lose blood little by little. It could be due to infections like even malaria. When you have very severe malaria, it could cause a destruction of your blood, and then you become anemic. Or you could have parasitic infections like all those worms and schistosomiasis. Okay. All these things could cause you to have inadequate blood, which will give you one of those symptoms like tiredness.
Okay. How does your blood, or rather, how does the body signal to you that it is not getting enough of these blood-producing nutrients?
So the only way the blood will signal to you is symptoms like headache. Some people can come with headache. You could say tiredness. I feel tired. You could look pale. People will notice first that, oh, you do not look as pink as possible. So if you look at your palms, you usually look pink. People will check it. Oh, you look pale. Let me see the inner part of your eyes. So it is not as pink as it should be. So these are some of the things you will notice about it. So before you even know that the blood is not enough, you will notice those symptoms. But there are a large percentage of people that walk around and do not even have the symptoms. So it's a two-way thing, and that is why we encourage you to have a regular health check, and so that you know when your blood levels are low. So if you have had if your blood levels have been low for a very long period of time, your body gets used to that level, and so you might not have the symptoms I'm talking about.
Can you please explain in everyday language how our diet directly influences the way blood cells are formed in the bone marrow? I know that this is biology 101.
No, it's not about in everyday language. Okay. So it's biology 101.
Oh, okay.
No, biology half or half.
Half.
So what we can do, let's start from the red cells. Red, what we call blood. We call blood red because of a lot of those red cells. Those things that are red is called hemoglobin. And the in part of the hemoglobin is made of iron. So if you have that heme, that is the iron, and the globin, that is the proteins there, you can say that I've mentioned those two, the iron and the proteins need to come together for you to have those red things. And remember that those red cells are what will take oxygen and nutrients around your body. So if you do not have enough iron, there is a lacuna. It's unable to form that hemoglobin with the proteins for you to be able to function very well. So it means that there are two things that forms that red component that we call blood, and if you do not have enough iron in it, what happens? There is inadequate blood. Hope you understand. That is one part. So just imagine you need to put Lego together to build a house, and if the parts of that Lego, the building blocks of the house are not there, what happens? The house will crumble. And that is the way it is with other things like folic acid, as well as the vitamin B. Without them, you're unable to have the healthy blood produced. It just remains there. The globin, the protein just moves around without having the exact thing it needs to attach with for it to have adequate blood.
Okay. Now, there's a question that I must ask you, and that is the function of what happens when you are not able to, when your blood doesn't clot. We'll come to that one in a moment. Yeah. I have to ask that question. Yeah. But what are the consequences of not having enough of these things? What are some of the you've talked about the hemo and the globin, or whatever it is that you call it. What are the consequences, the conditions that one could develop if you don't have enough of those in the body?
The nutrient, so we have nutritional related anemia. That is the consequences. Everything causes anemia. So if
inadequate blood.
Inadequate blood. So sometimes the blood might be small. So if you don't have enough iron, for example, you know, that hemoglobin is not there. So what happens? It makes it smaller. It's like you need to have two balls in the bag for the bag to be fine. And if you have one ball in it, what happens? There will be space. The space for that other ball will collapse. So we call it a microcytic iron deficiency anemia. So it becomes small. That small size is unable to function effectively. If you do not have adequate vitamin B12 and folic acid, which helps with DNA. You know DNA. Well, you know what DNA is? I'm sure everybody does know. It's a part of the body. It makes the blood look big. So we call it a megaloblastic anemia. And that blood too is not going to be adequate. So it's too big for it to do the functions it's supposed to do. So there's no way. This is biology, half or half. Okay. So really, just as you have said, we just classify everything to be nutritional anemia. Okay. Trying to explain each one make us go from half 01, half to 202.
We understand, but essentially the underlying thing is we must eat the rainbow.
You must eat the rainbow. You must eat the colors to have enough.
But there's this question I have to ask you, and I've heard about it. The most we knew was red blood cells and white blood cells. You have told us that there are 5 parts to a blood. We'll not talk about that one today. But the part I'm concerned about is when someone has a wound and the blood does not clot, what is the consequence? How did that happen? Is it also nutrition related?
Well, really, it is not particularly nutrition related. It could be everything. When your blood does not clot, it could be due to inadequate special chemicals in your body. Number one, that is the coagulation factors. So part of the things that you have in that thing called plasma that is like straw colored in your body are those chemicals in your body. So if it is not adequate, your blood might not clot. There's something called platelets. Platelets are like standard parts in the blood. They are the first call when there is a wound. So if the platelets are not adequate, blood too will not clot. There are times when the two of them are available and you're unable to, it's possible that you've eaten something or you're on some particular drugs. Blood too will not clot. So based on what we'll see, platelets, if it is not enough for whatever reason, then it has to be replaced back. If the coagulation factors are not enough for whatever reason, it needs to be replaced. So conditions that we have inadequate platelets can be seen when there is severe blood loss. You know, when there is severe blood loss, everything goes out together. And most of the time when we return, people just return the red cells because platelets do not last for long. Platelets in blood, once it gets into the blood bank, that is that refrigerator where blood is kept, it becomes destroyed within a few hours, maximum 24 hours. So by the time we are giving blood back, there is no platelet in it. Once platelet is removed, it only lasts about 5 days. And so we tend to just give the blood, as in the red cells, and we forget about it. Another reason why platelets could be low or inadequate or not well adequately produced is when we have bone marrow failures. People that have cancers, they have that issue. There's a bone marrow failure common in people with cancers or people being treated with chemotherapy, and which destroys their bone marrow, and so they cannot produce adequate platelets. On the other hand, we have the coagulation factors. The hereditary conditions that does not have you don't produce enough. So we have a lot of hereditary conditions like that. And people walk around like that, so be careful what you eat on the road. The person might just not have enough of all these things.
Well, lastly, because I know that you want to also expatiate on this, most of the time, hydration is often overlooked in conversations about blood health.
Yeah.
How much does water intake matter for maintaining a healthy blood volume and quality?
So a major part of the blood is made of fluid. That is like water. So I'm going to give everybody listening job to do when next you go to the hospital or your blood sample is taken for an investigation. Just look the sample bottle that is taken. Just watch it for a while. You notice that there are 2 layers. The red one will be below, and then you have that straw colored above. So a major part of our blood is actually water. So when you are dehydrated, it is not good enough for you. Overhydration is not very common really, but a lot of dehydration. And so you need that fluid to be able to make up that components of your blood. You also need a lot of fluid for your blood to be able to move around. And when you are dehydrated, it makes it very viscous, and that it makes it very thick, and makes it much more difficult for it to move around, especially in people living with sickle cell disorder, where there are abnormalities in the shape of their blood because of hereditary issues. This blood water also helps to move the blood so that it isn't stuck within the blood vessels. So water is really, really important. In short, for general good health, you need to continue to take water. It helps you to move out all your toxins. It helps you to move all your toxins. It helps you to take even your nutrients where it should be. It supports the red cells, really.
Yeah, I'm obeying your instruction right now.
Please do take it.
But I have to ask you this question before we go. If there's someone watching right now and listening to you that is already deficient in iron or B12 or any component of the blood, how long does it take to to restore healthy blood levels through diet alone?
Yeah, so every unit, the red cells takes about 120 days for it to leave. But before then, so a healthy red cell takes about 120 days to leave, as in that is the, what do you call it, the lifespan
in the body.
In the body. So after every 120 days, it is believed that it is destroyed. However, the production of these red cells takes about 2 to 3 weeks to start. So it doesn't just start at once. It goes from one stage to the other, another stage to the other. So for you to have your mature red cells to function very well, it might end up, if it's just diet alone, and that's why it depends on the level of the anemia. If it is mild anemia, whereby the functions of the body have not yet been affected, we can just leave you alone to just go on with diet. We know that the supporting structures you need will, over time, within 2-3 weeks, it will continue to build up the red cells. But if the anemia is moderate to severe, we cannot depend on diet alone because your body functions needs to continue. At that time, we can either support you with drugs that would quickly help you produce red cells, or we give you a blood transfusion. So it depends on the level that you are in.
I have too many questions. We haven't talked about special groups and their conditions and all of that, but it's just one of those conversations we always have. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Bodrina Shikuma is a consultant hematologist as well as Executive Secretary, Lagos State Blood Transfusion Committee. Now, when we return, it's our home stretch. And guess who we have in the studio? Nope, I'm not telling you. Do some hydration and then we'll be right back. If you know that song, don't worry, you're not too old. You're not too old. But our guest this morning, you may have seen him right there, is someone who was born in Kano. Yes. But he's best known by his stage name, JJC Skills. Please welcome Abdurrashid Bello.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Rapper, singer, songwriter, record producer, television producer, and now filmmaker.
That's why they call me Skills. To God be the glory.
It's good to have you.
Thank you very much.
How's it been?
Me. It's been very good. Yeah, it's a journey, but...
Oh, journey.
Yes.
Because there's a difference between journey and adventure. Which one has it been for you?
It's definitely been a journey. There's very adventurous journey.
Adventurous journey.
Yeah.
Script writer. You just have to combine it.
Well, it is.
How's it been, though?
It's been very good. We are going through this process right now of getting people to actually believe in Nollywood, to the point that they will put their money and go and buy the tickets and sit down and watch a Nollywood film. I mean, I have a movie out now called Hakeem, and I'm in the cinemas and I'm actually meeting people one-on-one. I'm traveling around and I'm meeting them one-on-one, telling them, watch this Nigerian film. They'll be like, I don't watch Nigerian films. I only watch, I'm here to watch American film. And I said, well, how do we grow? And I found that was the same case growing up when we were doing music. People didn't really want to listen to our African music back then, but now it's the biggest thing. And I think we need to support ourselves more.
Interesting that you had to take it back to that era, because I remember growing up, it was Jebako Cinemas. What was the other one at Agege, Penn Cinema, and a number of other people. Many people don't know that there was a cinema house in Agege called Penn Cinema. But they just know the area as a bus stop.
Absolutely.
at this time. So, and most of those movies in the cinemas at the time were either Chinese or Indian films. Hardly did people even watch American films at the time, if memory serves me right. But somehow we have been able to transit.
Yeah.
The same thing that I said about music. I mean, being a radio presenter, we listen to, yes, I know.
The rule was 80-20, I believe, that time. So they'll play only 20% of African music.
Simply because the quality were not at par. At the time.
At the time. But then you still needed to invest in it for it to be at that quality.
Okay.
A little bit of investment was done in Afrobeats. Look at what it is now. Do you understand? And when people like the streaming platforms came to Nigeria, they were not investing in the producers of Nollywood. And now we're getting more confidence, and we can put more money into it, put more resources, and put more time. I think it's just, that is the situation. This movie I made, it is the groundbreaking movie. This is that point when you say, okay, Nollywood has become Hollywood. When you watch it and you believe everything you see on that screen to be true, we have achieved that.
Absolutely, and I can't argue with that. But you know, it's, as you said, it's a journey, not just for you, but for the entire industry.
Yes.
I have been in places where someone who was born in the 60s was using sunglasses. Someone who is dead had a makeup on. And all those. So don't blame people.
Yes.
You just have to find a way to convince them that, look, we have arrived now. But speak to the industry as well. What are the changes that you can say that the industry has been able to make that's gotten it to this level of growth that it has attained until now?
I believe the technology we are living in is the new age of
everything.
Fast everything and everything digital. And I believe that the industry is gaining a lot of knowledge, and we have access to a lot more knowledge. Like when I was making this movie, we created almost everything that we used, even the blood that we used for the fight sequences. There's information out there that you can put things together. All the fight sequences were all created by young boys, and they were able to find information online to be able to put it together. So I think the whole industry has evolved with more knowledge, and we just need more investment and more people to trust in us.
Oh, no, definitely. I see that already happening.
Yeah.
There are some people who don't just watch movies, even if it's Nigerian. They're watching who is the lead actor, who is the director, who is the producer. Oh, for some people, that's the yardstick by which you know they watch. So it's either you are A-list, and once you are A-list, you don't want to compromise your name. You want to be sure that you put not just your best foot forward, but also collaborate with the right people. Now, for you, you have traversed music and now into movies. Tell us how they differ and how they come together in your own experience.
Music is, I believe it's just more like one person's vision, one person's voice. As JJC, what message did I want to pass to the world? And my message was very clear. We are Africans. Nigeria is the best land. That's what I wanted to portray. And I believe I'm doing the same thing with the movies. In the movie, I want the whole world to know that we can actually achieve an action film, because there's this notion that we can't do certain things. That's the notion that I don't like. And that's actually has been my battle from day one.
Wait. It's an action film.
It's a full-blown action film with car chases, car crashes, explosions, everything that you would imagine from a Hollywood film done in Nigeria, shot in Abuja with our own people, and it's convincing. What a beautiful storyline.
Wait, it's, where did you say I can watch it again?
It's in all cinemas across Nigeria.
Oh. Some people are going to be waiting for it to be on Netflix. But anyway, let me not jump out of myself. Now,
when it gets to that point, we'll get to. But right now, we have a limited time in the cinemas. Netflix it's not guaranteed, right? So right now, if you believe that you want something to convince you that Nollywood has crossed over, we have something. And it's a money, when I'm in the cinemas, I tell people, this is a money back guarantee. Go in there, watch it. If you don't like it, I'll be waiting for you. When you come out, I'll give you your money back. And when they come out, they'll go, thank you for recommending this movie. I said, so no money back? They said, no, I'm coming back with my friends.
Oh, dear.
So,
nice. Now, how about the soundtrack? Let me assume that you produced some soundtrack by yourself.
Oh, yes, I did. more than just produce the soundtrack. What I did also, the lead actor, DMA Okonlawon, I actually transformed him into a music actor, music artist. We did a song called Seeking Justice, which is available on YouTube and on streaming platforms. Also, I did another song that we featured Damian Kolawon, Zubi Michael, Nino Lowo, and Skills all rapping on one song called War.
Wait a minute. How could you put Nino Lowo on a song? Okay, let's have a taste of it.
Yeah.
Down to your door, down to your door, down to your door. Down to your door, down to your door, down to your door.
Men who go down over the Chaloco, cars smoking hot Kobakaloco, and you know if you fight me, tell me Raro, and a Balagumba, talk of a chono, and if you prize that make a coletto, I want you to look at me, make a for 1 year, that's a long way, Makanga Bagoto, and if I receive you,
That's Zubi. As a rapper, yes.
Hey, it don't happen.
Yes, sir.
How could you put Nino Lowo
Yes.
as a rapper?
And if you hear him rapping, you'll be blown away. Even when he came, he could not believe that he could do it. But, you know, I'm one of those people that will tell you, trust me, and I'll guide you through. And at the end of it, if you see him on stage, the swag was just on point. Yeah.
You know, I've always had this thought that non-music performers can actually do music.
Okay.
You've proven it.
No, funny enough, I actually used to do this thing in my family every holiday period where everyone travel around from different parts of the world and we all gather. So we'll have this like a Christmas or Happy New Year song we normally used to do. And it used to be like a challenge. So all the children and everyone, you'll go and write 4 bars or 8 bars. You know, my name is this, and I am this. And I realized, actually, anybody can be a musician.
Really?
Really. But obviously, more practice, more perfect.
Okay. Who can I call out now? Do you think Dr. Monday Ubani can do music?
I believe if he meets someone like JJC, he can.
What of Mr. Femi Falana?
Definitely.
Yeah. How about Seun Okinbaloye?
But you know what? I'll say anybody can be a musician. It's just dependent on the grade of a musician. Yes.
Okay. Tell us about this this movie again so that we can... Where and when is it out?
100% guaranteed. Hakeem Seeking Justice is the most interesting, most believable action movie from Nigeria so far. It's featuring Zubi Michael, Nino Lowo, Damian Kolawon, Choma Chukwuka, Lico Rose, White Money, Gabriel Afolayan. The list goes on. Ali Nuhu. It is star-studded.
Wait a minute.
And action-packed. Story is amazing with a lot of plot twists. So far, just don't take my word for it. Google. See if you can find one bad review. Since it has come out, there's not one bad review. It is amazing.
You've sucked me in because you've mentioned a few of my top actors.
Yep.
Ali Nuhu is there.
Ali Nuhu is there.
Afolayan is there.
Gabriel Afolayan is in there.
Don't let me call him. He's not a crazy man, but sometimes he, you know, Dimeji is there.
Yes. Chief Femi Branch is in there.
Is this the trailer?
No, this is actually okay. So this is another thing. I normally write a movie before I shoot a movie. So this is the continuation. This is the sequel. Of what we have right now in the cinema.
So we're already seeing the...
You're seeing, yeah. Yeah, so this is it's like a teaser. A teaser for what's to come.
A prequel to the sequel.
Yeah.
This?
Okay, yes. This is the trailer of the movie that's right now in the cinemas now. As you can see, it is extremely, like, groundbreaking. Yeah.
Wow.
Hakeem.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that we're going to hear more of this in time to come. Wow. I don't even know what to say right now. So you've packed some of my own...
Okay, my takeaway for this is Nigeria or the creative team has come to the stage where we are very intentional now. It is not just, oh, let's grab a camera and shoot. No, this movie, for instance, took 2 years to plan. It took months to rehearse, training, physical training, mental training, and it took a team of over 100 people to do it. This, what we achieved, would cost, let's say, Hollywood, we're talking about, let's say if we're talking Naira, billions of Naira, and we were able to achieve it for over, plus distribution for over 500 M. So, to God be the glory, the expertise is actually now available in Nigeria.
So, Hakeem Seeking Justice, that's the title of the movie?
Hakeem Seeking Justice.
Hakeem?
Hakeem.
Seeking Justice, that's the title?
Yes.
And it's already in the cinemas?
It's in cinemas right now.
Just in Lagos or Abuja or?
All across the nation.
All across the nation?
Yes.
Well, I understand that the distribution is another very, very difficult thing.
Yes.
How were you able to manage that? We
are managing it as best as possible. I feel like everything so far is something you have to handle yourself. In Nigeria, I'm sure for all Nigerians, my people, when it comes to water, you can't really wait for the water board or whatever. You actually have to do a borehole and find solutions to your water. When it comes to electricity, you know, you have to get solar and find some generator and stuff like that. So the same thing kind of works with every aspect of what we do in Nigeria. So even though I have a distributor, I am in the cinema halls every day. I am moving around, calling across the whole nation to make sure that my movie is seen. I'm here begging you, please go and watch my film.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. Honestly, this is, I'm already blown away.
Thank you.
And now, oh gosh, I can't wait. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
A pleasure.
Abdul Rashid Bello, popularly known as JJC Skills,
yes.
Rapper, singer, songwriter, record producer, television producer, and a filmmaker of Hakeem Seeking Justice, now in the cinemas. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're closing the show for us today. And that is Sunrise this morning. Thank you again for the privilege of being a part of your Saturday morning. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm Ayo Makide. See you again.